I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years. Bring your ass.
Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
All right, welcome in. A little Flagrant Howls here. Latest Timberwolves news episode of Flagrant Howls while Judd finishes clipping his claws.
There's a lot going on in my life right now. I got Judd's camp notes. I have to go to the fair tomorrow, which is going to be just outstanding. I know that. But you know what? There's only so much time in a day. And by the way, the wife bought me this great cuticle thing.
Clipper?
No, but like
Fingernail
it's a
clipper?
kit. It's a kit.
Okay.
It's got the toenail clipper, the fingernail clipper. It's got one I don't even know what it is. It's like angled off. I'm not quite sure. But very,
It's an
very
angled
nice.
off clipper, or is it a file? Is it?
No, it's an angled off clipper of some sort. Yeah, because I know a nail file when I see one.
Yeah. Ever since I got the new, I used to be a serial nail biter, and ever since I got the new chompers like 5 years ago, I don't bite them anymore, and I do clip them. But like, it's still like a thing of like I want to do it, but then I'm like, I can't do it. Yeah.
I've never had that problem, thankfully.
Yeah.
Never had
It's
that
awful.
one.
In case you're wondering where we're at in the Timberwolves and NBA news cycle here.
That's right.
Fingernail clipping.
Tim
up there.
Conley chomps on his fingernails.
Timberwolves news. He was until he got his guy back apparently on the roster, which we'll talk about. And the schedule's out. There's some interesting nuggets there. But if we're done chewing and clipping our nails, let's go to MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning here, helping to power this edition of Flagrant Howls.
Guess what? They don't waste time. In fact, what they do is they make sure the plumbing, heating, and air in your home are working efficiently. But they also, what they do is get out in the community and do some great work, including this weekend, Friday through Sunday, being back at Woodbury Days. Stop by their booth to enter their grill giveaway. And also, Woodbury Days runs the Grand Button Prize every year, and this time MSP, partnering with Halo Water Systems to give one lucky winner a free whole water filtration system. They've been part of our community, most importantly, probably, for more than 100 years, making sure that your home is safe and sound, and also contributing 651-615-4292 for any, right now, HVAC or AC issues. Call MSP.com, and make sure to get out to Woodbury Days as well to see them and potentially win a free whole home water filtration system.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. Let's go.
Anybody got any Timberwolves news?
Oh, glad you asked, Sports Dad. The Wolves' schedule is out, and we're going to spend 3 minutes on every single game here, dissecting wins and losses.
Well, we should.
Actually, we're not going to do that, but some interesting notes and nuggets from the schedule. So they start the season Wednesday, October 22nd. So a couple of West Coast games. And we'll get into it. There's a national TV conversation here that Judd was emailing us about last night. We got to get into. But so at Portland, a feisty Portland team to start the season. And then 2 nights later on Friday, October 24th, at the Lakers and the newly conditioned Luka Doncic, if you've seen him making appearances around.
Did you see what happened, though? Where he got hurt?
Oh, yes.
And it could have been really bad, and it's why
Yeah.
you don't. And it's why you shouldn't play for your country. Anyway, I digress.
Did someone like fell on him? I feel like I read about it.
Yeah, it was just
Didn't
a
see
freak
the clip.
thing.
You know.
It's the way careers end.
Well, unless he has to have career-ending, season-ending surgery, he will be available for that game, we think, on October 24th. That's on Amazon Prime Video. Mm-hmm. And then you come back home, a Tyrese Halliburton-less Indiana Pacers team on Sunday, October 26th. Denver at home on a back-to-back the next night. That's on Peacock. And then another nationally televised game on ESPN against the Lakers on Wednesday, October 29th. So 3 of your first 5 games on the national TV platforms across 3 different ones, Amazon, Peacock, and ESPN. And then right after that, or shortly after that, the Emirates NBA Cup will tip off on Halloween and culminate in Vegas with the semifinals in mid-December and the championship. And the Timberwolves are going to play their first group game against the Jazz on Friday, November 7th at 7 p.m. at Target Center. The other teams in the Wolves NBA Cup group, besides the Jazz, are the Kings, Suns, and Thunder. So Just your thoughts on 2 games against the Lakers in the first week of the season, with a Denver game mixed in there as well. Pretty tough.
And I think the Lakers' appearance here is their only one. They made at least 2. In fact, I think it was pretty quick last season at Target Center. I think it's, you know what? It's going to be an interesting start because I think there are definitely some pieces that we're going to find out pretty quickly. Not just how well they fit together, but probably most importantly, how much they play. Like, there is now no option. You've got to play. And Chris Finch has said that shortly after the season came to an end. But I think from that perspective, I'm more interested in actually what the Wolves do as far as rotations go.
Yeah.
And just as far as, because it's time to take the gloves off. Like, it's time. And one of the most interesting things I think from the start of the regular season is going to be this: Mike Conley's playing time. Like,
I still think he starts as of right now.
I agree with you.
But it'll be 18, 20 minutes.
Right. That's what I'm curious about, is how much does that now come down? Who else plays? Do we go back to more like Point Ant and things like that? Does Dillingham play? So I'm actually, I think just from a standpoint of the Wolves starting the season, I'm actually really interested in how Finch manages the players and the minutes, because I think there's no question that that's going to have to change. We've talked about it, but it's a difference between talking about it and expressing a willingness to do it, and actually, when it comes to crunch time, doing it.
Yeah, I think on the crunch time part, I think it's the most interesting thing is going to be who is on the court in the last 5 minutes of a clutch time game.
Yep.
Is it just reverting back to Conley? And all right, well, we trust him even though he's getting older and has a hard time getting offense. Or do they trust some combination of younger players or a player that they are reportedly bringing back into the fold that's very interesting, and we will get to that. A couple other schedule notes here. So they've got 2 different 6-game homestands, one of them from December 6th through the 23rd before the Christmas game in Denver. You get Clippers, Suns, Grizzlies, Thunder, Bucks, Knicks. So you come home from New Orleans on Thursday, December 4th. You're home on the 5th, presumably, and you don't go back on the road for 3 weeks, which is a really interesting sign. Now, there's also a couple games in there that are going to be, so this is a little bit unformed because that's also when you'll get 2 extra games from the NBA Cup. So my guess is at least one of those will be a road game, or maybe they're in Vegas because you're playing in the semifinals and the finals of the NBA Cup. And then later in the year, there's a 6-game home stretch from the first week in February through February 24th. So that's another 2.5 or 3 weeks where you've got the All-Star break baked in there, and you don't have to travel for a basketball game. But it all sort of comes to roost, starting with on March 30th, 6 road games out of 7 games. And then your last game of the season is home against New Orleans. But you're basically on the road for the better part of the last 2 weeks of the season. And it's hard to know injuries and stuff, like if these teams are going to be. But at Dallas should be really competitive if that team is healthy. At Detroit, very feisty. At Philadelphia, totally depends on Joel Embiid, who looks like his career might be in jeopardy.
I'm not too worried about him playing much.
Home against Charlotte. At Indiana, probably still without Halliburton because he tore it in the playoffs. And then at Orlando, at Houston, home against New Orleans. So you got that kind of brutal road stretch. If you're really fighting for playoff position, which you will be in some form, you're going to have to win road games with some potentially young and experienced players there. So a couple other notes on the schedule. So thanks to NBAstuffer.com, this website puts together rest-related schedule things. Love this. Mm-hmm. So the Wolves actually play the fewest back-to-backs of any team in the league. They're tied for the fewest back-to-backs with 13 back-to-backs. Mm-hmm. Now, the most is 16, so it's not like some teams are playing 20 back-to-backs and other teams are playing 3.
And they had
it's
14
a tight range.
And they had 14 last year.
Yep, so they get 1 fewer back-to-back. They also track the 5 games in 7 days stretches, which are brutal in the NBA. So they only have 1 stretch of 5 games in 7 days. Teams with the most have 3, so you get by on that front. But they only get 8 games with a rest advantage over their opponent versus 11 games with a rest disadvantage. And I think this was flipped last year, if I recall correctly. Doogie brought that up with us. Mm-hmm. So in some ways, you get a really nice layout with the rest. But in other ways, you're actually playing 3 more games against teams that have a rest advantage over you the way that the schedule lines up.
There's one thing that occurred to me, and it actually involves the vaunted NBA Cup, but I think I've got an improvement for it. And it would sort of be a soft launch of an idea. But you know what I would do? I would make the NBA Cup scheduling from a scheduling standpoint. And other than the championship game, it all sort of works. Like you play a couple of games outside if you continue to advance, but it's not like you're playing an extra game against the Jazz or something. They count. Here's what I would do, especially for a team like the Wolves. I would make the pods regional rivalries. In other words,
that's what your divisions are supposed to be technically, but
But what I'm saying is that's out of control now. What I'm saying is think about this.
You could test drive it.
NBA Cup, Bucks, Timberwolves, Bulls. I mean, we've talked about this. Wouldn't it be more fun to make it to? And I'm not trying to imply that this would like fix something, but you just said it. Test drive it, because these teams right now, it doesn't excite me.
Well, what you're really getting at here is, what would it look like if the Wolves were in the Eastern Conference and playing those teams you just mentioned 4 times a year instead of 2, and fighting in the same divisions, which actually gets us to the nationally televised portion of this conversation. Latest Timberwolves news. So the Wolves are on national TV a ton this season. And thanks to Charlie Walton on Twitter, Charlie Walton MN does a good job on Twitter covering the Wolves. And he laid out the nationally televised games each of the last 5 years, excluding NBA TV. So NBA TV, we are not counting as...
Yep.
Because sometimes they'll just like pull a feed from one of the broadcasts.
Yes.
It's not quite high profile like TNT used to be, right?
Correct.
So 2021-22, they had 1 game on national TV. It was a TNT game. Then the next year, because they made the playoffs that year, right? That was the year that they, I think that was the play-in year. Yeah, it was, where they got in. And then the next year they got on 10 nationally televised games. And then they kind of, they're not as interesting anymore. So we're going to bump them back to 5 nationally televised games in 2023-24, up to 18 last year. And now a jump to 28 games on national TV between ESPN, ABC, NBC, Peacock, and Prime. And obviously the ascension of Anthony Edwards is a huge driver of that, and just how good, they've been to the Western Conference Finals in back-to-back years. But the NBC experiment here is going to be fascinating. So NBC Peacock plans for these coast-to-coast Tuesday night games where they do a doubleheader. And, doubleheaders are not uncommon for ESPN or TNT all these years. Usually you start the first game at like 6 Central Time or 6:30. It's like an East game. And then, so what Peacock and NBC are going to do is the first game is going to start at 7 p.m. Central Time. And the second game, instead of tipping off at like 9:30 or 9 or something, 10 p.m. Central Time. So the Wolves actually have which, as Judd noted in the email, that means 10:10 or 10:15.
Right. Yeah. You're not tipping at 10.
So they're going to have 2 road games that start at 10 p.m. Central Time, but these are going to be West Coast games on these Tuesday nights. So just like another reason why the way the NBA geographically is set up, the Wolves playing these ridiculous late night games, they really do belong in the same conference as the Wisconsin team, the Illinois team, Yeah.
Well, and I know that they have it so that if you look through the Tuesday night NBA coast to coast on NBC and Peacock, it's 2 East Coast teams at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. But the Central time zone teams, then, if you look at the schedule, just get sent out to this 10 o'clock abyss. So it's the Mavericks, it's the Rockets, because you're in the Western Conference. And the games aren't in your building, but nonetheless, your fan base, and I'm sorry, it's a Tuesday night. It's not like a Friday night where, push it, people will stay up and sleep in. Yeah, I understand what they're doing, but my God, if I own a central division or if I own a team in the central time zone, the mountain time zone I think is workable. But I'm not happy about this at all because my fan base, I'm basically on Tuesday nights when they're in this window, which by the way is marquee games, like supposedly good games. You're essentially giving the fan base no chance to stay up.
Yeah, it is. I get what they're trying to do to some extent because as a guy who lived on the West Coast for a couple years, those games all like the late games in the Central Time are 7 p.m. games, and then there's nothing like after 9 or 9:30, and your night's just kind of over from a sports watching standpoint. Feels like they're trying to lean more into getting West Coast people to watch primetime basketball games.
Yes, because those are all those are all Western Conference teams. The problem is the Western Conference has a bunch of teams that are in the Central Time Zone, and I guess and look, they don't care about this, but I guess where I sort of get tired of this, and this happens in the playoffs as well, is we just get crapped on. Oh, we'll start a game at Target Center. I mean,
That's the worst.
How close are we now? If this is going to be the thing, okay? How close are we now to, well, if this works, let's start a game at Target Center at 10 p.m. I hope not, but
yeah, we've literally had like 9:15 Central Time start times for
playoffs
games.
are out of control.
Yeah. So, but hey, NBC Peacock, I think it's a good thing that they're back. I mean, they were part of the heyday of the NBA exploding in the 90s and in the early 2000s. So I'm excited to see what they do in Prime Video. And Michael Grady is going to be a huge part of both of those presentations for NBA and WNBA. So I think overall, this is all going to be a good thing for the NBA.
Well,
but
yeah, they're getting a ton of money.
The schedule's a little bit brutal for Central Time people.
So am I correct in saying that the plan is still the NBC voiceover guy is going to be the guy that did it in the 90s, but he's dead now, so it's AI.
Okay.
So that guy's voice will be used. He is deceased, so
that's how Purple Daily's going to keep running for like 100 years. Right? Judd's Camp Notes.
It's a hologram.
Hey, everybody. But we forget to change out the current play. Judd's still talking about Theo Jackson in 2074.
He could still be playing. You never know.
Still talking about Rob Dillingham. Yeah, so that's the schedule. The schedule is up. It's posted, and it's really hard to tell. Some of these stretches that look like they might be brutal may not be, and some of these. By the way, there's the other thing that's fun to look at is how many times do they play a back-to-back, not necessarily like one day after the other, but where they play the same team twice in a row. And that happens a bunch of times for the Wolves. So they play New Orleans twice in New Orleans with a day gap in December. And then in January, they play a home-and-home with a day between against Cleveland. Golden State twice at Target Center, back-to-back games on ABC and Peacock with a day between them in late January.
Oh, I'm sure the Warriors are thrilled by that.
And then a week later at Memphis twice in a row with a day between. So basically February 1st is the off day there. So, and then I think that's it for So there's like 4 different times where they play the same team twice in a row.
Steph Curry, enjoy your 3 days in gorgeous Minneapolis, St. Paul.
At the end of January.
At the end of January.
At least though they're staying there because like didn't they last year like they went to Portland twice in the span of like 10 days or so. Like, they played the Trailblazers member a lot in the first.
They played them 3 times in like 10 days, including a back-to-back in Portland.
They stayed.
They lost both those games if I recall.
Yeah. So at least they're like somewhat staying put, which I kind of dig. And yeah, the fact like I'm getting older. Like side rant, like I went to a concert last night and didn't get home till 11:45. And I used to love West Coast time zone games, like when the Twins would play the Mariners and the Angels and stuff. Or the Wolves playing Portland or something. Like I used to love the West Coast games. I'm in my mid-30s now, man. It's tough. It's tough hanging to try to stay up to watch and all those games. And then you're dragging the next day.
Yeah, I know. Look at us all getting old now.
I know, man.
Now
Welcome
Dex
to the
is
club,
old.
boys.
Yeah. My feet hurt. My ears hurt.
I was tuckered during the Twins A's game last night, and it started at 6:40.
6:40.
Hey, Phil, is that Timberwolves news I see?
Oh, yeah. And they may have filled out their roster with a familiar name here, which we'll talk about in just a moment. WolvesRealtor.com, though, Dex, for our audience. Heather has been on board here at Flagrant Howls for like a year now, I want to say.
Yeah.
Love having them on board.
Yeah. So she's your real estate expert. So, the Wolves schedule is out. And in fact, right now, you can go to WolvesRealtor.com and you can get a schedule magnet. The schedule magnets are on the way. She's ordered these schedule. It's a good magnet on the fridge. So if you want a schedule magnet, plus, if you're looking to sell your house, looking to buy your house, it is a complicated process that you should not do alone. You should contact Heather. You can talk Wolves with her. You can talk the schedule. You can talk all sorts of things. She's a season ticket holder. So go to WolvesRealtor.com for any of those consultation needs. Plus, get that Wolves schedule magnet at WolvesRealtor.com.
Butcher and the Boar powering Flagrant Howls' latest Wolves news today. Just not that far from Target Center, actually.
Absolutely not. And guess what? It is a perfect time of year for patio season. And the Butcher and the Boar's new expansive patio is a great place to get a craft cocktail, get a beer before or after a ball game, or if you're going to the downtown area located in the North Loop. There is an exclusive menu for the patio. I went through it a couple days ago. It looks outstanding. But then if you step inside, we're talking about Southern style hospitality. Anyone who has dined inside at the Butcher and the Boar knows exactly how delicious their food is. An evening on the town, Butcher and the Boar. Are you kidding me? Check it out, North Loop in Minneapolis.
Also, we're talking basketball on this show, but if you just like big sporting events later on this year, the World Juniors are coming to town, and you guys have a special Judd's hockey show happening at the Carousel Park stage on Saturday this weekend at the Minnesota State Fair, Judd.
Yes, we do. In fact, it's going to be Judd's Hockey Show. AJ, Jesse, and yours truly. Bob Motzko, who's going to coach the U.S. team, will join Phil Housley, who played on the U.S. team in 1981, the last time that this tournament was here, and it's turning 50, will join us as well. We start about 11:45 or so. It's going to be intriguing and interesting. And why? Because we're talking about a tournament with the best under 20 hockey players and future National Hockey League stars. Did you guys know the first time Crosby and Ovechkin faced off, it was not in the National Hockey League. It was in this tournament. It runs December 26th through January 5th of 2026 at the new, the soon-to-be newly named Grand Casino Arena, and also 3M at Mariucci as well. Get the USA 4-game mini pack. There's also all sessions packages covering the entire tournament, plus Group A or Group B packages to follow specific teams in the preliminary rounds. Check it all out. WorldJuniorsMN26.com. WorldJuniorsMN26.com. And join us at the fair on Saturday to get a preview from Bob Motzko of what this team will look like.
All right. Okay, back to the latest Timberwolves news. Bones Hyland is reportedly back to, I believe, fill out this 15-man roster, plus you get the 3 two-way contracts. So Johnny Krasinski from The Athletic reported, I guess you could say, he replied to someone's question on Twitter, and it's been kind of making the rounds, but he said that, the plan is that Bones Hyland will be that final roster spot. It might not be finalized until September, but the Wolves brought him in last year, kind of stashed him away. He played in garbage time a little bit. But this is a former first-round pick out of VCU that Tim Connolly drafted in Denver 4 years ago. Connolly has had a fascination with Bones Hyland, who in his first couple years in the NBA with Denver was a playoff rotation guy. I mean, he was getting in back-to-back seasons, he was getting 15 to 20 minutes a night against the Warriors, against the Suns. He had a bunch of 20 to 25-point games in those first 2 years with Denver. And then in April of 2024, toward the end of the year with the Clippers, he unleashed for 37 points, 9 assists on 52% shooting. So he has shown you these flashes as a ball-handling guard who can get hot from three-point range. He has shown you flashes in his career, but he's never been able to fully put it together and be a consistent force in a rotation. And now he finds himself, I think this is his third team, Denver, Clippers, and then Timberwolves. But they bring him on board again, or they will at some point here. I don't know if it's officially finalized. And so your projected roster now is Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, Mike Conley. Let's project those guys as the starting 5. And then off the bench, Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, who may or may not be ready for the start of the season. with the re-aggravation of, was it the foot from a few weeks ago? TJ Shannon, Rob Dillingham, Jalen Clark, Bones Hyland, Johnny Juzang, who's on a non-guaranteed contract, so they could, in theory, be flexible with that roster spot. Yohan Beranger, Joe Ingles, and Leonard Miller. And then you got your 3 two-way contracts where these guys can play up and down with the Iowa Wolves. Tristan Newton, who was with the Wolves last year, Rocco Zakarski, the other big man they drafted, and then Enrique Freeman. So yeah, I mean, I could see a world where, like we said earlier in the episode, Conley starts because he's been around, they trust him, he's got the Gobert chemistry, and maybe he plays like 4 to 6 minutes to start the game, and then you bring in your Rob Dillingham with maybe a Bones Hyland place in the rotation somewhere. I do think they're going to test drive Bones Hyland. I don't think he's going to play like 30 minutes a night, but I don't think he's just going to sit there. I think they want to see if there's something there. And so then you have to figure out, does Conley then come back to end the first half? Then he starts the second half. Like, is it 20 minutes? Is it 18 for Conley? It's certainly not going to be near 30 minutes a night at this point in his career. But I do think Bones Hyland's going to get some run. So we'll see what happens.
The DiVincenzo thing concerns me a lot, because I was counting on him coming back and a guy that was traded on essentially the eve of training camp to the Wolves last season, and then had, an up and down year for sure. The playoffs were not good. And I was really counting on stability here, and foot problems in basketball players, that's a concern. Again, it's why I hate competitive summertime basketball and always will. He was playing for his country, right?
He was
planning to.
Right? He was planning to?
Yeah, I don't think it happened in an Italian sanctioned thing. I think, like I said, these guys are working out. They're doing.
I'm just concerned about it. I'm concerned about it because a foot really, and especially a reoccurring foot problem, concerns me.
Yeah. So Bones Hyland, welcome back to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Doogie loves Bones. He's been talking about Bones since the Denver days.
I think since the draft. So, all right, dudes. We'll see you guys for many of our Score North shows at the Minnesota State Fair starting tomorrow. There's a noon to 3 block of Score North podcasts live on the various channels. A lot of Purple Daily. You can find a full schedule at scorenorth.com/fair. And thanks for hanging out with us on Flagrant Howls, a Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.